Then against Michael Chang, he played the best match of the whole tournament. To be able to dismiss Michael Chang in straight sets was something to see, and he just continues to have gone on from there. As I said, with every match, he's just getting better and better.
And Tony, as you mentioned, Ivan Lendl has had a more difficult time advancing this far.
He has, but I think that's been good for him, Pat, because he was shy of match play. And so the tough matches early, the fact that he won the first round match, he turned off the Dutchman 6-love in the fifth, and then a pretty easy match against Kunin. But when he got to beat Ivan Izovic and then beat Michael Stieck, the reigning Wimbledon champion, he did a heck of a job getting out of that situation. And I think he's razor sharp right now.
So it'll be Stefan Edberg and Ivan Lendl, two veterans who know each other's game firsthand. Chair umpire for this match will be David Littlefield. Respected by almost all, but during the course of this tournament has been sort of belittled by others.
Well, he won't.
That's why I really feel that if Edberg continues to play as he has been playing in these last few rounds, he should win. Because of the 4 semifinalists left, he is the truest aggressive player in a strategic sense. And he can play more points from the easiest winning position on this court. And you would think that maybe that would get rewarded. Edberg has twice reached the semis here at the U.S. Open. He's never gone beyond it. Net!
15-30.
And these two have played 5 times in the semifinals. And this man has never lost a match in that round against Stefan Edberg.
Two break points for Edberg.
First game, first set.
One of the things that I might point out early, and we'll see it unfold, I think, is how many times Ivan Lendl tries to make the backhand passing shot down the line as against cross court. He goes down the line almost exclusively. Edberg doesn't like the call. And just as I say, he goes down the line, he goes cross court.
Well, all the people aren't here yet. Maybe he heard you.
First serve. Deuce.
Two tremendous backhands in a row now cross court to keep Lendl in his first service game.
He's smart to do that early, and again, we'll see if he goes down the line more often later. It sets it up by going cross court some.
Lendl always tries to do this, especially against serve and volleyers early in a match. He tries to hit so hard that he sort of scares him off the net. So often I've seen him play that way against John McEnroe. Just batter him with pace right off the bat. Shake him a little.
Advantage Lendl. Deuce.
This summer when Ivan Lendl wasn't playing too well, I really thought it was more his footwork than anything that let him down at times. He just wasn't instinctively running hard every single point. And he himself said it, you know, because he didn't have a lot of matches, he wasn't thinking and reacting the way he wanted to. He wasn't quite there for that last Edberg shot, although it was well struck.
Advantage Lendl.
Ivan Lendl's footwork has not nearly the natural grace and sense of balance than Stefan Edberg's, but as you can see, anytime he can run around and give himself a big forehand, that's what he'll try to do. But his movements are much more taut looking than his opponents. Edberg, to my mind, has the most graceful game of any player.
Game to Lendl.
Game to Lendl. And he wins the first game of the first set.
Out 15 love.
People always speak of Ivan Lendl's big serve, and in fact, I think he'll have more aces on the day than Stefan Edberg. Edberg's serve is so tough because he doesn't try to go for aces, but he just tries to position himself for the good first volley.
40.
And he hasn't had to hit one yet.
But he's been in position.
That's right.
You'll see Lendl gets a head start here. He's already started forward before Edberg ever made his shot, because having dipped the ball low, he knew that, or he thought that Edberg would go for the angle. So he's already coming, and that's the way he gets to it. And he got it down the line before Edberg could close off the gap. I want to show you how Edberg sets that ball into the court. See how he leans forward? That ball would have landed 2 or 3 feet inside the baseline. That helps him get started toward the net, taking that first step as he's striking the ball.
Game Edberg.
Game's a 1-all.
1-all.
Edberg has always said that he's had a hard time in New York. It tends to assault his senses. So he's rented a house out on Long Island about 35 minutes away for the last month. And he seems to feel it's a lot easier to compete when he can escape and just relax in a big old house. Stefan Lendl, of course, lives less than an hour away in Connecticut, and he commutes back and forth to this tournament. In fact, as soon as the men finish resurfacing these courts, they go right to Lendl's house, and he asks that they resurface his court to the exact same specifications and speeds
as the center court, the stadium
court.
Right.
So he doesn't have to practice here every day.
Love 30.
Tony Roach, the lower right-hand part of your picture with his head down, a great Australian player. It's tough to recognize some of these guys hiding under those hats and sunglasses.
That's him, though. Been Lendl's coach for years and has added so many different dimensions to his game. Chip backhand, better volleying technique. Has given him a much better sense of the whole court. Samantha Lendl, now the mother of 3. They had their first child, Marika, about a year and a half ago, and now twin girls arrived at the end of July, Isabel and Carolyn. And Yvonne says it's really cut into his golf game. Doesn't golf nearly as much.
That'll do it.
But I'll bet she doesn't let it cut into his tennis practice and his training much.
Oh, no.
Love 40, so a big chance here for Edberg to get the first break.
Game Edberg.
There's the break. Edberg leads 2-1.
Edberg leads 2-1.
U.S. Open Tennis Championships of 1991, the men's semifinal, Edberg and Lendl.
Love 15.
Foot fault called on the second serve.
Tony Picard, Stefan Edberg's coach, has heard that call many, many times. Edberg admits to moving into the court. Picard saw Stefan Edberg as a 15-year-old in 1981 at a tournament in Milan. He was working for a sporting goods company at the time. And they became such good friends that then they then became coach and student.
I think it's the back foot that Edberg brings up and touches the line sometimes before he makes contact with the ball. That's a no-no. It's called a foot fault.
Love 30.
Stefan Edberg lost to Yvonne Lendl the week before the U.S. Open began out on Long Island in straight sets. It was a slower court than this, so that may have had a lot to do with it, but also Edberg didn't serve effectively enough, and Lendl took big swings constantly to beat him easily, 3-2.
Love 40.
This looks like he's going to get the break right back, Yvonne Lendl.
If you're going to play a volleying side on Edberg, if you have a choice, you'd want to make him hit the forehand volley. He's more vulnerable on that side, more apt to make mistakes. Same off the ground. His forehand is a little shakier. His backhand is a very, very solid shot.
Still a break point.
Missed it.
2-all.
Lendl breaks back. 2-all. One of the greatest records, best career U.S. Open match-winning percentage. Ivan Lendl with the best, followed by Jimmy Connors. This is since the Open began in 1968. Connors in action against Courier later on this afternoon in the other men's semifinal. So this day has just begun.
We mentioned earlier the toss of Edberg into the court. This is Lendl serving. See, not as far forward because he's not going to that. He's backing out. He doesn't want to be serving and volleying.
It's interesting, Tony, that the split step that Edberg takes, the first one he takes is up by the service line. The one that Lendl takes is about 2 feet off of the baseline.
That's not a perfect angle to show it, but it helps.
40 love.
40 love.
What a great stab. It was 105 mile an hour right into the corner.
40-15.
And Edberg just made a terrific, a desperate backhand stab.
But watch Lendl. He doesn't even flinch. He thinks his serve is out.
Sure.
So he makes no effort to even go for the ball. Not that he could have gotten there. See, now he looks at the umpire and said, you know, wasn't that serve out?
You really think that's what he said?
Oh, maybe not.
That backhand you were talking about.
40.
A very natural shot. Well produced. When you become a top player, normally the backhand is easier and a better shot than a forehand. The body can be in the way in a forehand. A lot of other things can go wrong. So club players, normally the forehand's better than the backhand.
Most hate to even hit a backhand.
Yeah. So from 40 love to deuce very quickly.
Another example there of Lendl not quite tracking the ball early enough. Again, it was well placed, had a nice angle on it from Edberg. Lendl a little slow to react to it.
Advantage Lendl.
Good forehand by Lendl. So difficult, I think, to play the game this way when you're on the baseline all the time. You have to make the good shots because your opponent's coming in and you have to thread the needle. And to do that for 3, 4, 5 sets is very demanding.
Monica Seles will have the same task today against Martina Navratilova in the women's final.
Game of Lendl. 3-2, he leads. First set.
3-2.
For this great Saturday here.
Quiet, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Edberg.
Thank you.
To serve at 2-3 in the first set of this men's semifinal.
Seats behind the players.
Well, that was a tough second serve. That's the area that Lendl has to take advantage of. He's not going to do big things most of the time off the first serve of Edberg, but it's the second serve that he has to try to punish Edberg. Not an easy task.
That's Annette Olsen. She's a fiance now of Stefan Edberg. They were engaged after Wimbledon, but Edberg says neither she nor I are in a hurry to marry. He says, I'm a typical Capricorn and she's a typical Taurus. When we rush slowly.
Game Edberg.
Still to come this afternoon on Super Saturday. The women's final, Monica Seles against Martina Navratilova. And then Courier and Connors. The rare occasions you'll see Ivan Lendl venture to the net.
Well, he come in on the short ball, and normally from that situation he puts enough on it that the volley isn't difficult if he has to volley.
Ladies and gentlemen, a little quieter.
Is that what I said? Then if you could ask the court for a wide circle on that finger, not straight over the court.
Lendl had, the chair misunderstood what Lendl was requesting. He thought, the chair, David Littlefield, thought Lendl was requesting quiet from the crowd, but he was instead asking that the blimp not circle directly over the court, the stadium court. He'd asked for the same thing a couple of days ago in his last match. It's in his line of sight, the Fuji blimp, and he asked that that the blimp make bigger circles.
15-30.
Have a good man. Monica Seles. Just checking in at the USTA National Tennis Center. Father just behind her, and Monica, of course, preparing for her.
There was a chef behind her too. I guess she brings her own her own food
Chef?
to prepare. I don't think he was part of the entourage.
He peels the bananas.
Watch Edberg close in. He makes a good solid approach, never stops, does a little stutter step, moving forward to get that ball higher than the net. Really a crisp volley, firm wrist. Again, that is his favorite volleying side, the backhand side. Break point for Edberg could be a big one.
Game Edberg.
He got it. Edberg leads 4-3 in the first.
I think a lot of New Yorkers would say Lendl's full of hot air for wanting that to happen.
15-5.
Some of the other idiosyncrasies, he changes the racket, as Tony said, on every ball exchange, adjusts the racket strings. You've seen him do that. Douses his hands in the grip with sawdust and wipes his brow with his wristband, which is a real king-size wristband.
It's an armband.
Doesn't leave much to chance, this man. Very, very structured fellow. It's interesting, all three breaks of serve in this match have come from that side of the court where Edberg is serving, where the sun is. And yet he himself now is having a very comfortable service game.
Here is Jim Courier, who will face Jimmy Connors later on this afternoon in the other semifinal.
In front of me with that camera.
Arriving. Nice young man.
Big Cincinnati Reds fan.
Also looks like Phil Simms, who used to start for the Giants.
Edberg leads 5-3.
Super Saturday will proceed with the women's finals, Seles and Navratilova, to be followed by Courier and Connors. That's all here today here on CBS. Connors and Courier with the same initials, but a substantial difference in age.
Here's one more idiosyncrasy of Ivan Lendl's. For his serve, he bounces the ball 4 times before his first serve, 3 times on his second.
Net. And if you asked him about that, he wouldn't have any idea, I don't think.
No, I don't think so, Tony. I think that, again, I don't think this man does anything without there's a cognitive thought behind every single thing he does. He's a man of routine. He doesn't like when it's shattered by something.
Well, if he's got 3 children, his routine's going to be shattered.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? That's a very good point.
Thirty 15.
It's another look at Stefan Edberg. Those feet always moving. Early racket preparation. Real fine preparation on that backhand volley. Didn't take it back too far. You don't use any wrist on the volleys. Make a shorter punching motion at the ball.
First serve.
That serve was 110 miles an hour. That one 113. It missed.
He had one at 116 just a moment ago, so he's getting it up there.
That's Ivan's third ace off the second serve. That's the first one.
Here's another look. Toss to the left, which would say I'm going to kick it. Instead, he fooled Edberg by breaking it wide.
Advantage Edberg.
The Edberg forehand. Got over the top of that one, directed it well. Now it's set point. Here's Lendl. He stays on that side, but still couldn't handle the down the line forehand.
To Edberg, 6-3.
Lendl's being pushed backwards. He's well behind the baseline, and that backhand down the line, Edberg sits on him. Here's a look at Stefan coming in. Good firm wrist, knocks off the volley to win the first set. That first set, Lendl got to the net 4 times, Edberg 21 times. So it tells you what their strategy is.
That suggests a pattern, doesn't it?
Right.
Mike Wallace in front. Mary Tyler Moore sitting behind him. They went to the same hat shot.
30-15.
I was speaking to Connie Chung and Donna Mills just before this match. They are two enormous tennis fans who have been as swept up in this year's U.S. Open as anybody. We can't watch enough of it.
Kirk Douglas
and his wife Ann. they not only love to watch, they love to play. They play the game all the time.
I talked to him yesterday as he was headed home, just saying how much he had enjoyed yesterday. And today,
It's just going to get better.
yep.
I don't know if the Douglases have a court of their own in Los Angeles. I know they have one in Palm Springs, their other home. I played on that one with them.
Game Edberg.
Game to Edberg.
Second set.
First game of the second set to Edberg. And this is at the USTA's National Tennis Center. Men's semifinal. Edberg won the first set and won the first game of the second. Ivan Lendl serving.
That's what Lendl has to do. He's got to step things up a little bit because Stefan Edberg has been dictating in the last 5 games. Ivan Lendl had only won 7 points, so I think he's going to try for a lot more aggression. And he really has to.
He was being overpowered for sure. He has to try something different. That toss was well into the court. He was perhaps on his way to the net. You can tell who wants to get to the net.
Edberg is so much more of a naturally forward player, isn't he? Lendl was forced to make a tough little half volley there, and Stefan just continued. Even after he struck this ball, he never stopped moving, looking for the short reply. That's so no one can steal him out of the locker room. Got his name on his shoes. John McEnroe and Pam Shriver, years ago, they were with the same shoe company, and somehow McEnroe got a batch of shoes that said Pam on the back of them. He refused to wear them. So I gave them to my father. He wore them. Said, I can't wear these.
1-all.
1-all second set.
Here comes Lendl with the short ball. He had the good depth. He had good pace. Now the volley's simple. You force the opponent to hit up to you, and that's the last part was very simple for him. All set up with the solid, deep approach.
Edberg very steady.
Edberg is so exacting with those volleys. He doesn't. He goes for. Fortunately, he's a very, very gifted volleyer, and he needs to be because he goes for high-risk volleys. You know, he doesn't just try to center them back into the court. He goes for extreme angles, such as that one. When he gets in trouble, sometimes it's because his volleys. He goes for such perfect shots at the net. But when he's on, there's really nothing prettier.
You have to make such good shots to get him past Edberg because he does cover the net so well. Time Lendl was taken wide, so it did open up the Edberg court, and his cross-court forehand paid off.
Strong game for Edberg. He leads 2-1 second set. So far for Edberg.
Not really such good numbers for Ivan Lendl. He's not getting a high enough percentage of first serves in, and even when he does get them in, not making that much of a dent.
That says that Edberg is returning well.
It's also going to force Lendl now, I think, to press more on that first serve, make those serves even bigger, which of course could make his percentage of first serves drop. This is sort of how Ivan Lendl felt in the very first round when he was challenged so well by Richard Krajicek, the young Dutch 19-year-old who held 2 match points against Lendl, and it was only his tenacity and his courage in the end that got him through that match. Against Michael Stich, too. Another very difficult 5-setter he was able to win. But just as is happening in this match, it was Lendl who just wasn't able to dictate enough of the time. It was more a beat me if you can situation.
Watch where Lendl is when he tries to make this passing shot. Good approach. Okay, well, that's an ISO on Edberg, so unfortunately he was about 8 or 9 feet behind the baseline. It's too tough to pass from that deep.
In a tough situation, it's love 40. Edberg gets a break.
Edberg leads 3-1.
Tomorrow, the NFL on CBS. It all begins at 12:30 Eastern Time with the NFL Today. The big game. Most of the country will see the Rams at the Giants. Bears, the Buccaneers, Saints, Chiefs, Minnesota and Atlanta, Packers at Detroit, Phoenix at Philadelphia. It all begins with the NFL Today. The last word before kickoff. So far, Stefan Edberg has had the last word. Serving at 3-1 second set after winning the first.
The last point of the last game was a perfect example of what's going on. Edberg played on the baseline the entire time, and Lendl was 4, 5, 6 feet behind. So Lendl's in a defensive mode, and Edberg in the aggressive mode, and it's paying off for him.
It should be said, too, people consider this man strictly a serve and volleyer, but his ground strokes, his backcourt game is better this year than I've ever seen it. He is not afraid to stay on the baseline and carve out a rally from there until he gets the short ball he wants. And his forehand, though not nearly as pretty as his backhand, is a very solid forehand.
Edberg lets the lob bounce and then goes in behind Ivan Lendl.
Hour old. This men's semifinal, 15-all. Edberg up a break. He won the first set 6-3.
See how much
profile. Excuse me, Mary.
Yeah,
go ahead.
see how much higher the numbers are, Pat. He's not 60 at about 60%. He's still winning just about every service point he needs. Lendl wannabes. Ivan Lendl a couple of years ago was practicing in Australia in the intense winter heat, January, and he found these hats at a golf pro shop, bought up a bunch of them. At the Australian Open, he's always wearing this.
Says they help keep him cool. That's something he may not want much longer.
That's usually the case when things are going well.
40,
you
15.
get the breaks, you make your own breaks. Here's a reverse angle look at Edberg. The very delicate half volley. He's trying to just drop it over the net. Just ticks the top and falls over, and Lendl just shakes his head. To this point, this match sort of reminds me of Lendl's final against Becker in '89. Afterwards, Ivan on the court said to me, he overpowered me. And I said, yeah, he did serve hard. He said, no, but off the ground. He says, he did to me what I did to other players for 8 years. And it appears to me that's exactly what Stefan Edberg is doing to him. He's overpowering him off the ground and on the serve.
Didn't he say to you at that time, I've got to find a different racket?
He did. And he talked about using a larger face racket for grass, hoping that would help him return better.
Still got one of the smallest racket faces in the game.
Game to Edberg, and we'll be back at the U.S. Open after this word from your local station.
You know, at the top of the show, Lendl said, I've got to return his serve well. or else it puts more pressure on my serve. Lendl's won 11 points on Edberg's serve in 7 service games. That is not returning well, and that's why the score is what it is.
Lendl serving in the second set at 1-4. Edberg has won the first set.
Fine depth again by Stefan Edberg, and a very dejected and frustrated Ivan Lendl pushed farther and farther behind that baseline.
All. Lendl, as you pointed out, Tony, knew he had to make a change of some kind, and he's becoming more aggressive.
I think it's just not his instinct to serve
no,
volley. He's not good enough to do that and get away with it, but he has to mix it up some.
That's not the way to mix it up.
His second double.
To Edberg. He leads 5-1, second set.
Edberg leads 5-1.
Here comes Lendl. See how deep his shot is. Not very, and you see, never got the center service line. He thought it was coming back down the line, and now 2 breaks.
Thank you.
And Edberg serving at 1-5. 5-1, actually. Sorry.
Right now, let's go down to Andrea Joyce.
I'm Tony Roach, Ivan Lendl's coach. What does he need to do right here to take control of this match?
Just about everything. His timing's way off. He's very flat at the moment, but to Stefan's credit, he's playing a good, solid match.
Ivan has had to rely on his survival instinct throughout this tournament. How's that going to help him today?
Well, I mean, I think all those long matches have probably caught up with him mentally. He seems very flat. He just needs to get fired up, you know, and maybe for Stefan just to open the door a little bit, and if he could maybe break early in the third, and he may get a little confidence.
Think we're in for another 5-setter today?
Well, I'd like to think so, but at this stage, things are not looking too good.
All right, thanks very much. Let's go back upstairs.
Coach Roach, very objective about things.
Yeah.
15-30.
Aussies tend to give you a pretty good take on things. They don't dilly-dally, do they?
No,
They'll call it pretty straight.
Yeah, they'll call it like it is, and he's realistic enough to know that his charge is in big trouble.
He's just getting outplayed from every department.
Two break points now for Lendl.
Fans are trying to rally him. It'll be tough, though, because Edberg's got that two-break cushion. So even if Yvonne can snap him here, he'd have to do it again to stay in the second set. There's one.
Well, he got the break.
Ball change.
Still leads 5-2.
Edberg leads 5-2.
I guess that's Samantha. You know, Lendl really is having a struggle on his own serve. He's broken 5 times and has only won 22 of 52 points on his own serve.
Lendl serving at 2-5 in the second set.
I imagine Stefan's a little bit upset with himself at letting that serve get away. Like to close it out and give him the feeling that he's not going to get back in this match. Here's where Lendl just overpowers Stefan because he didn't get on the first volley. So he was sort of on the defensive. Here he comes. Watch, it sort of gets trapped there. Another one, he's behind him. And it was such a weak shot, he got past.
40 love. Lendl, the last couple of games, has turned it up a notch.
Game Lendl.
The last time these two played in a Grand Slam was in the semifinals of the Australian Open, a match that this man really should have won. Edberg was up 2-1. He took a 5-4 lead, and he just let it escape him, including double faulting on his second match point. So he really wants to exact revenge here. He also had 11 double faults in that match.
And this is the title he wants to win because he hasn't had much success here at all. So he's won some Wimbledons and some Australians. He got the finals of the French, but this is one he really wants to take home with him.
Well, he's won those 4 Grand Slam titles, 2 Australians and 2 Wimbledons, but they've all been on grass. The Australian Open now is on a rubberized cement court, but when Edberg took his 2 titles there, it was still at the Kooyong Stadium on grass. And of course, his Wimbledon titles are on grass. So he wants, like Boris Becker when he won here 2 years ago, he wants to prove he can win on a non-fertilized surface. He thinks he can even win the French Open, and so does Tony Picard.
He got close against Michael Chang in the final over there, but he ran out of gas. He got tired at the end. He hit a lot of balls on that red clay.
When Edberg was growing up, his coach was Percy Rosberg, the same guy who had brought along Bjorn Borg, but he didn't feel that he was pushed hard enough by that man. So he went to Picard. Picard says the problem in the beginning with Stefan was that he was such an introvert. And he said that tended to stifle his talent. He said he had so much talent that he could hide behind it. And he needed someone to tell him that's not acceptable.
Great shot, boy. Actually, Lendl has returned better in this game, but he doesn't have much to show for it because of shots like this. That is a tough volley to make, stretched out. That's the weaker of the volleys for Edberg. The forehand, he just handled it beautifully, so he has 2 set points.
That's very uncharacteristic.
And we'll see if it ends up being very costly. Don't know whether he relaxed or what. Very careless on this one. Took a bit of a swing at it. You know, if he runs the set out here, that'll disappear from his mind. If he loses this game, he'll remember that one for a long time.
Second set to Edberg. Second set also 6-3.
2 sets to love.
To love. USTA's National Tennis Center, but that's kind of ridiculous.
Well, this is what you call playing in the altitude. You got to get up there on the roof of that big building to play.
Who goes down and gets the ball if it bounces over the fence?
Ready to play.
I hope that the fences are sturdy too, in case you run into it. We're going to see how sturdy Ivan Lendl's mind and emotion, his heart is right here, because he's got to really try to figure something out. He's absolutely been steamrolled by Stefan Edberg, the #2 seed here. 6-3, 6-3.
Thank you.
Been broken 5 times.
Lendl will serve.
Seats, please.
The first game of the 3rd set. Whenever the crowd gets settled to his satisfaction.
Quiet, please.
Someone said he keeps a game plan under his hat. Time to change hats.
You know, you do become a little fatalistic. You play matches like this. You say, I either have to make shots or I'm out. That's all there's to it. That's why the good players don't really freeze often under pressure. If I were Lendl right now, I would try to play the Edberg forehand almost exclusively. Here comes Lendl in, not quite deep enough, though he hit it hard. And he went right into the powerhouse of Stefan Edberg.
30 all.
You couldn't ask for a nicer day to be playing these matches. It's not too hot, not too much wind, just a little breeze.
Game to Lendl.
I do. No, I don't know. I know she got 2 pair of glasses.
Yeah. Edberg has won the first 2 sets. 6-3 and 6-3. Lendl held his serve in the first game of the 3rd set.
Edberg's only won 3 tournaments this year, which is not a lot for him. Ivan Lendl has also won 3. But not a lot for him either.
He didn't play a lot. He had surgery on his wrist or his hand.
And he didn't play the French preparing for Wimbledon.
Lendl's hand injury kept him out for 3 months. And that's a lot of lost time for a man who really has to get grooved and play a lot of tennis before he feels comfortable with himself. That's why he lost to players with names like Wally Masur, Cristiano Carratti, Omar Camporese, Renzo Furlong, Grant Connell, guys who wouldn't usually get anywhere near Lendl. Lendl feels that until mid-April, he was having good results, and he said it's just a question of hitting balls and playing a lot of points. He's played a lot this fortnight, perhaps too many, as his coach suggests.
That shot gets him to 2 break points.
Yeah, Edberg has gone for a new racket.
I don't think he broke his other one. I suspect he might be going something that's strung maybe a little tighter for control. Conditions seem to be a little fast out there. Lendl finished up almost back by the clock.
30-40.
He was forced so far back. Watch him when he makes his backhand. It's a good one, but when he's falling away, look at him. There's no way he could recover, even if he wanted to. There's this ISO on Edberg. And now he looks up and he said, well, Ivan's not in the neighborhood, so I'm okay there.
That's just it, Tony. Stefan Edberg has every positional advantage in this match.
Well, as you pointed out earlier, Mary, he's the one that's at the net, king of the hill. And the other, you have to say, pass me, pass me, pass me, pass me. And I'm not just going to stand there. I'm going to make a few volleys, too, by the way.
And not only that, but off the ground, you know, he's a big guy with big ground strokes himself. Lendl can't hit him off the ground as he can so many other opponents. So he doesn't win that battle either. That was a nice short backswing that Lendl had to take, in which I really think he's got to either abbreviate the backswing as he did here, or quicken it. See, that one there was nice and short, and he got a good ride on the ball.
Also, normally when he takes that short preparation, he goes under the ball. That time he went over it, and that would work very well for him, I think. One thing we've learned is you don't count an Ivan Lendl out when he's down 2 sets to love. In '84 at the French, he was playing John McEnroe in the finals. He had never won a Grand Slam, and he came back to win that in 5 and win his first Grand Slam title. At Wimbledon against Malavia, Washington, he was down 2 sets to love.
How was this year?
He figures a way to win. This opened against Krajicek and Stick. He won in 5.
He has another break point. He lost the first 2 sets, by the way, to Krajicek. Advantage Lendl, break point number 4.
That was Edberg's second double.
This could be such a breakthrough game for Ivan Lendl if he were able to break here, consolidate the lead to 2-love. I just feel emotionally, even, he needs to make the break here, get himself going in this what could be the final set of the semifinal.
That's what Tony Roach said earlier. Is emotionally, he seems like he's drained.
Flat, yeah.
Flat. He's only ace.
And Edberg has the advantage now to even the 3rd set at 1 apiece.
Here's that last point, placed right in the corner.
That's out. The shot by Lendl behind the back.
You know he's surrendered in the point when he draws that. Mishit volley by Edberg. And that, what should have been a winner, he misses in the alley, and we'll see what that does to him. Look at this. That'll be in every highlight package.
Oh, it should be.
It's really beautifully struck, and you have to keep in mind, this is not a whimsical fellow. This is not something that that Ivan Lendl feels like doing. It was really his only play because he was so out of position. That was really the first burst of excitement that the fans were able. I mean, neither one of these guys is exactly a party waiting to happen.
Mary, you know, I do the corporate clinics and things like that, and I just hear him say, now teach me how to hit that ball behind the back like we saw, you know, Lendl do at the U.S. Open. They want the top spin lobs, all that kind of stuff.
And of course you do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
How about the between the legs? That goes over pretty well.
Edberg survives all that. And we're even at 1 apiece. Still to come on Super Saturday of the U.S. Open of 1991, the women's final. Seles and Navratilova, and then Courier and Connors. Jimmy Connors has caught the imagination of this entire city, certainly.
The country. I've talked to people all over the place, reporters and everything else. That's all they want to talk about.
this match so far very one-sided. What are your thoughts about the one coming up, Courier and Connors?
Well, it's a dangerous prediction. I think it's the end of the road for Jimmy Connors. He's going to play a guy that really can hammer him off the ground and will serve hard, and I think it'll be the end of a very exotic road for Jimmy Connors.
Exotic, emotional, and everything else. Your thoughts, Mary?
I think he's got a couple of chances. There are a couple of things that I like about Jimmy's chances. First of all, the fans. You can't dismiss them in a match like this.
49.
And again, that Jimmy Connors has those low slicing shots. Jim Courier's got very funny grips, kind of awkward grips. He might have some trouble getting under that. And Connors' leftiness, I think, can go to Courier's backhand. I'd be surprised if he didn't try that.
I think one of the things, though, is Courier's going to hit the ball off the ground hard enough, but he's going to not let Jimmy dictate the policy.
Good Lendl.
Game to Lendl.
Lendl
He leads 2-1 in the third. And the monument
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Players are waiting.
dedicated to
Quiet,
W.E. Slew Hester, who did so much to get this place built.
And seats behind
Ahead
the
of
players.
schedule.
And they say on budget, too. Two things that are unheard of. It's good to see that he was here yesterday. Arthritis is really attacking his body, but he had the courage to come up. We're delighted to see him.
15 love.
Just the second ace by Edberg. 15 love.
You know, Edberg has a very good serve, but you don't read about a lot of aces because that's not his plan.
30 love.
That one was 105 miles an hour. There are many faster than that.
He places it well. He moves it around. He kicks it up high, and he tries to get a high percentage of first ones in and then back it up very well.
Oh! 30-15.
And I think Lendl has to try to work over the Edberg forehand and forehand volley to try to break him down a little bit. It's not that it's bad, it's just not as good as the backhand side.
Game to Edberg.
2-all.
Solid game, 2-all.
Guy mixed the serves up on that game. That last went right into the body. He hadn't done that for a while.
Quiet, please. Thank you.
I think Edberg was trying to say it wasn't going too fast.
It was on
the line. It wasn't
a
hard one to call.
Right. Had a little chat with David Littlefield, the umpire, pride of Palm Beach, Florida.
Fastest serves of this tournament so far. Ivan Lendl up to 116 earlier in this match.
Those top 5 guys aren't here anymore.
Remember that it was Michael Stich who beat the defending champion Stefan Edberg at Wimbledon this year, and that cost him his #1 ranking. And remarkably, he never even lost his serve in those sets. Lost the tiebreakers. So forced to win, I should say.
30-15.
Talk about Edberg. Didn't lose his serve,
Yeah.
yet he lost the match because
Right.
he got beat in the tiebreaks. That's tough to take. He said the more he thought about it, the more it bugged him to lose and have not lost his serve.
30-15.
He said, I played a few bad shots at some important times, and that was the whole story of the match.
Super Saturday, as you look at the stadium from above, USTA's National Tennis Center, New York City, the first match of the day. Men's semifinal, Lendl and Edberg. Edberg has won the first 2 sets. 2-all in the third.
Game Lendl.
Game of Lendl. He leads
Lendl
3-2 in the
3-2.
third. We're on serve. What a handsome trophy.
1900, Dwight Davis started a little
Dwight,
competition
please.
that's turned into an international competition. And the United
Thank
States
you.
will be playing against Germany in Kansas City in a couple weeks, indoors on clay. And we just announced that Boris Becker will not play due to injury. Seen Tom Gorman, the United States Davis Cup captain, around here watching his charges.
It was an honor you enjoyed, both as a player and as a coach.
In my opinion, Pat, the greatest thing you can do is represent your nation. You do it in Davis Cup. And I was a thrill to do it and help win the cup once with Vic Satius and also be captain for 5 years.
$15
15 all. Lendl up 3-2. Third set.
$30-15.
Edberg took a long look at that. That's his third double fault. I think he thought it was good. So did a lot of people in the stands.
Edberg is not a moaner or a beggar on the court, and so when he does that, you have a feeling that maybe it was good. Some players flinch and look at almost anything that's close, but he's not one of those. Stefan puts a little color in it himself with a between the leg shot, but the ball was out. He knows that this is out, so he's willing to do this.
Quiet, please.
But you can't get him to smile, can you?
He says that, you know, Swedes have a bad rap of being brooders. He said that's not true. He said, but he does say anybody who has to wait half the year for sunshine might get a little down.
I guess so.
Game Edberg.
Game to Edberg. 3-all.
3-all.
Third set. Baseball on CBS. Baseball 91. The Dodgers against the Braves in that battle. Or the Athletics against the Toronto Blue Jays, who lead, I think, Detroit by 4.5 games now, or maybe just 4. At any rate, they've hung in there very steadily. Returns next Saturday. 2:30 Eastern Time. Major League Baseball on CBS.
The Braves have really been a surprise,
Haven't they?
Good young pitching, good hitting. Pendleton, Justice. They got Bream back.
Defensive is improved. What else do you need?
Just a timely hit now and then.
See how desperately low Ivan Lendl's first serve percentage was in that 6-3 second set loss.
Probably pressing some because he knew he was being hammered. He's been broken 5 times, only been able to break Edberg twice.
15-30.
He's just being forced to try too many things from too many improbable positions.
But the one trap Lendl's not gotten into is serving and volleying all the time, because he knows that's not going to work for his game.
I think he's a bit dry of notions right now.
I agree. And I think in the rallies you'll see he's playing very deep behind the baseline, and that just says, hey, defensive, I'm not going to be aggressive. A little more bounce to Edberg now, too. He's trying to get a break here.
Well, he's got some chances.
Got 2 of them right here. And the way Lendl's been going on the returns, you can see Edberg is good at seizing those opportunities on the breaks. One break could be the match.
Thank you. Quiet, please.
I know, Pat, I'm sure there's some viewers that may not know what a break point means. What we're really talking about is the other person's serve, and if you can break his serve, win his serve, that gives you the advantage.
Also, they're not using the electronic machine Cyclops to call the service line. Done by the lines person. Gets his break. He will be back at the U.S. Open after this word from your local station.
Edberg leads 4-3.
As he achieved that service break, and that's about as excited as he's going to get. Ivan Lendl at the other end of the court. And that's about as dejected as he's going to get. Edberg serving 4-3, third set.
Quiet, please.
He's up 2 sets to love.
Look 15.
His 4th double. One of those as a result of a foot fault on the second serve. I think good serving is like good pitching in baseball. If you move it around, change some speeds.
30.
It's not just sheer power. There was one there 99 miles an hour, but went right at Lendl. Edberg sets the ball into the court, so he leans in as he hits, and he's on his way.
Quiet, please. Thank you.
Ready to make that first volley.
30-15.
Even when Lendl makes a good return, in most instances, Edberg is able to handle it. This was a fine return, low, but look what that good volley by Edberg does.
40-15 now. Edberg would be up 5-3.
All he's thinking, hold 2 more serves, and I'm in the locker room. I'm in the finals of the U.S. Open.
Game Edberg.
Well, he's got 5-3.
Edberg leads 5-3.
Ivan Lendl will think long and hard, I think, when this match is over. I'm assuming it will be over soon. That he had his one chance in the 3rd set. He had 4 chances for a 2-love lead. Sure looks like Silas and Navratilova are going to be starting up their final soon.
That's still to come. Excuse me. And then Courier and Connor.
That was the one bit of daylight that Ivan Lendl had in this match. Chance for that early break in the 3rd, and he just wasn't able to convert.
And Edberg would love to get the break and end it right here and not wait for another serve. So he'll be attacking when he can. Lendl is playing like it's a formality. Not that he's not trying, but he just doesn't have that fire in his eyes. He can just feel like it's not his day. Edberg's got it on him, is going to keep it on him.
Still trying to stay in there. And this man Lendl, that the Grand Slams, he says very freely, mean everything to him. So I don't think Tony Roach likes his chances too much at this point. It's all he plays for, he says.
How do you like him, Mary?
I'm not too high on his chances myself, but it's rare that he goes through a year without a Grand Slam title. And he's about to be shut out of one for 1991.
40-30.
Samantha, his wife, is used to seeing him in the final of this event, that's for sure. He won it 3 times, 85, 86, 87. He was runner-up 5 times.
There's a behind the back. You can do it, I can do it.
What is going on here? Well, that pretty well sums up the day for Lendl.
And for Edberg.
Deuce.
He never quit coming forward.
Quiet, please.
See, you lied earlier, Pat. You said that was emotional. That was 3 pumps instead of 1. Tony Pickard. Can't believe it. See, Lendl says, I guess anybody can hit that shot. But he does have a sense of humor.
Both Lendl and Edberg had done that behind the back, and both were good shots.
That's right. They both won the points off that shot.
Advantage Lendl.
Edberg leads 5-4, third set.
Edberg leads 5-4.
Edberg at 5-4. About the serve here again, Mary.
Another look, and again, what was real nice is the big smile that broke over Stefan's face when he hit that shot. And this is, again, to be this dismissive of Ivan Lendl, who has won this title so many times, and if not in, if he hasn't won it, he's at least into the final, except, of course, when he was a quarterfinal loser to Sampras last year. That broke a remarkable streak of his. This is how Edberg played against Michael Chang, and beating him in straight sets.
Third ace by Edberg. .113 miles an hour. Thirty love, 2 points away from advancing to the finals. Stefan Edberg.
And he'll get to sit back and watch Connors and Courier play later today.
That's coming up after the women's final. Seles and Navratilova. Still to come here on CBS. Super Saturday continues.
You want to watch an eager guy trying to close out a match. Watch these feet. Good low volley. Little short steps. And that gets them to 3 match points. You're in Lendl's spot. You say, all I can do is just plug away. Just keep hanging in there. You just never know. Certainly seems and looks bleak.
Still match point.
One thing you do know is this guy's going to serve and volley.
Edberg
6-3, 6-3,
with his
6-4.
fourth ace. Closes it out. 3-3 and 4. Very impressive.
Marvelous display by the number 2 seed. Just overpowered Lendl, outplayed him in every category. That guy's got nothing to hold his head down about, but just a great performance by the Swede. Here's match point, and Lendl gets a swing at this and just flat fans it to strikeout. Ball jumped up awfully high. You'll get the feel for how Edberg likes it.
He played a tremendous match.
Annette Olson, his fiancée, and Tony Picard, his coach, at match point.
Right now, let's send you down to Tim Ryan.
Well, thank you, Pat. A brilliantly played match by Stefan Edberg, who was number 2 in the world on the ATP computer coming into this match today, but with his victory has now taken over the top spot, moving ahead of Boris Becker, who was eliminated from the number 1 position when he lost in the 3rd round, combined with Edberg's victory here this afternoon. And so that's the 3rd time Edberg has been number 1 in the world. He's never made a big deal about it, but he is happy to be there.
Stefan, congratulations. Throughout this tournament, Ivan Lendl has been able to come back and come back. You didn't even give him a chance today.
No, you can't give him too many chances. He's going to take it. But today I thought I played a very good match. Ivan wasn't at his best, obviously, but, you know, I stayed there. And, you know, I had a few chances to break me in the beginning of the 3rd set, but I've kept in there.
You're playing better and better with each match in the finals for the first time in your career. Is this your year?
Well, I'm hoping. There's still one more to go, probably the most difficult one. And, you know, I'm very pleased the way I've been playing, especially the last 3 matches here where I've really picked up my game. And I just hope I can keep it for another match.
Now, you will face either Courier or Connors tomorrow afternoon. Is there a part of you that would like to avoid that Connors emotional train?
No, not really. I think both of them are 2 really good players. They're both playing very well at the moment. And whoever I'm going to play tomorrow, I think I'm in for a tough match, whether it's Courier or Connors.
Well, congratulations and good luck tomorrow. Thanks again. All right, let's go back to the studio and Tim Ryan.